Hey guys, so I'm going to show you my LinkedIn content marketing strategy from both outreach and content that cuts down your time and also generates hundreds of thousands of views and gives you a rhythm that you can outsource to your team. Why am I showing you this? Because ultimately, this is going to be a great way of me being able to demonstrate the system to our clients and show them what our VAs do for them as a regular way of marketing. If you're interested in having a VA to go and do all this stuff for you, just comment below or DM me. You'll find a way of getting hold of me, I'm sure. But here's the cool thing. I want you to be able to cut down the amount of time you actually spend on LinkedIn doing marketing and still have a fantastic rhythm, the sort of fantastic rhythm that gets you results like 100,000 views like this, and also gets you results such as loads of leads. So how do we go and approach this? Well, we think when you think about any content marketing strategy, you should be looking at some sort of cycle. So we say to clients, have 13 topics. Think about your overarching subject like an orange and unpeel it into 13 segments. The reason why we choose 13, because 52 weeks divided by 4 quarters equals your 13 weeks. So we repeat the same topics 4 times a year, once every quarter. Now, if you've got a good theme, for me, it might be LinkedIn newsletters because I talk about different LinkedIn marketing tactics. One of them is LinkedIn newsletters. If I just say that and talk about that once in a year, then it's like I'm shouting in the wind, right? Whereas I might as well repurpose some of that content 4 times a year. But I can't even remember what I had for breakfast, let alone what I posted 14 weeks ago. So the whole point, this rhythm won't be seen. But the beauty of this is if we know that one of these topics, say you're a coach and one of your topics is leadership, we've got leadership. So what are we going to do on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to really maximize the leadership piece? Well, we say, on Monday, why don't you start the week with an engagement creator? We like things like a poll or some sort of big question that you go and ask your audience. The whole point of this is to get them answering and interacting and spiking the algorithm with people who are interested in leadership. Because if you create the audience and they're already engaging in it, the brilliant part of that is that that's the people that you can drag along for the rest of the week. They come along for the ride because you started the week well. And then what we talk about on Tuesday is do a current affairs post, right? So we think about that current affairs post, you can then really spike the algorithm with content because you take something that's current in the news. So if there's something like there's been a leadership reshuffle within the local politics or something along those lines, there's been an election or there's been sort of a change of leadership or there's some sort of leadership change in some big corporate company, you could then create a piece of content that actually references that and then talks and refers back to your thought leadership around that. So your current affairs post drags these people who are voting in here and then also gets them to be able to comment. You start debate, you start conversation within that, and then that drives more interaction. Wednesday, you then do your newsletter day. Why do we do a newsletter? Because newsletter gets subscribers. And the beauty of these subscribers is that they're joining a subscriber list, which then you can go and connect with those subscribers. You can message those subscribers. You can send them into your sales meeting. Same with people who are voting here. You can go and connect with these voters. You can message these voters. You can then send them into a sales meeting. So you can see how we're drawing people along each time and then just siphoning. So you've got your newsletter on there. And then Thursday, we call about having Throwback Thursday, right? And Throwback Thursday basically takes the one from the previous quarter cycle that you did as a newsletter and throws that back. So it throws another leadership post that you previously talked about. The first time you do the cycle, you just don't do something on Thursday. But every single quarter after that, you've always got a Thursday post. The beauty of that is that you don't have to create that new post every time. You're just repurposing or reposting a post from the past. That's cool. And then Friday, we call it Share a Win Friday. So this is where we teed up the fact that you know what you're talking about in leadership, and then we share a case study, a testimonial, some sort of win post from your client that says about how great you are in terms of helping people to be able to grow their leadership or doing leadership development training. And so this shows how you actually do the thing that you're talking about in the week. And of course, then call to action into the sales meeting again. So you can see how this content is also siphoning people into the opportunity to have a sales meeting. Now, over and above this, you're always sending 20 connection requests a day. Why is that important? Because LinkedIn allows you to send 100 per week safely. And so you're always adding new people. Why do you want new people? Well, they're the most likely people to be able to see your content because LinkedIn will serve it to people that have just connected with you. So if you just connect with someone, I bet you, if you look at your feed, they'll be showing up in your feed. And so you want to be able to capture these people. And then if they start to engage with some of these high engagement posts, then they'll start to hop these posts until they ultimately hop into sales meetings. So you can make sure you've got highly qualified and decent targeted people you're connecting with every single day. And then you want to send 30 DMs a day. That's your first degree connections. Why is that important? Well, you're probably already sitting on a load of people that kind of already warm to you. So let's just reach out to them. Hey, how you doing? What are you working on this quarter? We haven't caught up in a while. Would you like a virtual coffee? That's type of conversation. If you're chatting to these 30 people, then of course also there have to be new connections. If they're talking to you in the DMs, LinkedIn again will start to serve them. And they will start to see this high engaging stuff. They will engage in it. Of course, the more engagements you get, the more reach you're going to get, then the more you get. And then you siphon people through. This is why this works. And it's super, super important to be able to create this rhythm. And of course, next week, great, we've done one of our 13. We just move on to week 2. And then that might be, motivation week, right? And then you go and talk about the same subject. Now, here's the cool thing. Once you've done this once, you don't need to rethink of what poll I'm going to use again because it's just a question. It might be something like, do you think it's more important now with remote working to have great leaders, or was it more important when we were in the office? Yeah, and then you could just have a 2 option, now or previously, right? That question is great, right? You don't need to make it up another question like that. You just keep the same question. So once you've done this once, you never have to do Mondays again. The current affairs post, you do go back and you kind of create a new post each time. So you will need to, so you don't have to ever do Mondays again, but you will need to do Tuesdays. And the thought leadership newsletter, you have to do Wednesdays, but you never have to do Thursdays again because it's a throwback Thursday. And you just get 13 great case studies within your different categories for Fridays, and you keep on making these the best. Because if someone's going to buy from you, look, they're not going to watch more than 13 case studies, are they? So you just make sure you polish, and make these the best case studies, and then repurpose these 4 times per year. Job done, right? That's fine, done, right? So you don't need to worry about this. So Fridays you have to do again, Thursdays you have to do again, Mondays you have to do again. So your entire week is basically giving a couple little sentences around what you think about a current affairs piece and a thought leadership article. And that gives you the perfect rhythm. That's the perfect marketing campaign. And that's the sort of stuff that we do for clients. And just to show you how this transcends, these are my posts. So this is a current affairs post about me moaning about people putting flags on bridges. This is a newsletter post about me giving free AI bots, and look at all the impressions in here. This is a current affairs post about how Angela Rayner lost her job for tax evasion. Me using that as a way of actually transitioning into, isn't it unfair that small businesses taxes are going up? And I'm obviously an orator for small businesses. And so this is why that works for me. And then a couple of other examples in here. So let me just go down to something like this. So look, another good performing post. This is a poll, just asking a question about Sales Navigator. This is a poll, again, doing really well, good engagement. This is a video. This is kind of like my newsletter post with a thought leadership video in. So you're mixing the media, you're getting the replies, you're getting the result, you're building rhythm, and then you're making sure your profile is optimized, which we've got a video somewhere else on the channel about how to approach your LinkedIn profile like a sales letter. And so great profile, great content, rhythmic, and of course, then the whole thing can be outsourced. Hope that helps. Big love. Take care. See you on the flip side.